Hello and welcome to another video. Today we're going to be taking on the disgusting interior that is my wife's BMW X1. Now, we've recently been away on a couple of UK holiday breaks as well as a few trips to the beach, so the car is accrued a fair amount of crap, a fair amount of dirt and a fair amount of stains on the seats from the long drives. So the first thing that I'm going to get doing is just get all the door cards cleared out and get everything out of them. Get the car empty. Once I've got all the rubbish out of the door cards and all the other variable nonsense out, it's time to get the car seats out and then have a little look at what we're going to be dealing with in the back seat area. And it looks pretty full. There's a lot of jackets down there, a lot of books and a lot of toys just thrown on the floor. Kids, if anybody that has kids will know that when you go a relatively long drive, the back of the car gets filled up with so much nonsense. Now that I've got the car completely empty, the first thing that I'm going to do is just give it a vacuum. I'm going to get as much of the stuff vacuumed up from the floors, the seats, get the vacuum into all the little nooks and crannies and crevices, get as much of that sand and dirt out as possible before even thinking about giving the seats and the floor a wet vac. There's so many little hidden areas in this X1 that gets full of crumbs. Like this seat for example, I didn't even realise it pulled forward like that, and then there's so much crap sitting behind it, so we need to get that all hoovered out as well. Now, once I've finished up with all the vacuuming, or hoovering, whatever you want to call it, I'm going to start with all the surfaces. And for the surfaces I'm going to be using Garage Therapy Zero Interior, along with one of the KDN scrub pads and the KDN microfiber cloth to wipe everything down. Personally, I like to start from the highest point up in the dash, working all my way down to doing the bottom of the door cards and the pedals last, as you don't want to be working in all that dirt and picking it all up in your microfiber and then dragging it across the top of your dash and stuff like that. So I like to go from top to bottom when I'm doing the interior. And if your car does happen to have some of this gloss black, piano black type stuff, try and avoid it with any scrub pads or any brushes because it does scratch up so easily. I'm going to be looking at dealing with that a little later on in this video, but a simple microfiber cloth will do for those areas. now going to look at moving on to doing a little bit of wet vacuuming. First thing I'm going to deal with is the floor mats, because I can do them outside and then I can leave them in the garage to dry overnight. For me, the wet vacuuming is the most satisfying part of any interior clean. I'm not a big fan of doing interior cleans, but yeah, they need to be done. Now, watching the dirt be pulled out of the extractor is just, for me, the most satisfying part of it. Getting on with the interior of the car now, I'm going to do the carpets and the seats, and to be honest, I didn't think they were actually that bad until I started extracting out of them, and there was an awful lot of mud that came up, or well, dirty water that came up, as you can see on the wet vac head there. They didn't look dirty, and there are car mats down there, but it still gets dirty. So for the interior cleaning, I'm actually using G101 diluted way down, so that it's nowhere near as powerful and is a little bit more gentle. And the main reason for this is quite simply that when I made up the last bottle, or the spray bottle of the Garage Therapy Zero Interior, I used up the last of the interior cleaner that I have, and I didn't have any other to hand, so a heavily diluted G101 will do the trick just fine here. Now, just as I'm finishing up the front seats here, I'm actually quite surprised. They weren't as bad as what I thought they were going to be, apart from a little bit of sweaty bum marks. They were actually not too bad, and they came up very well with a quick drill brush and a quick extraction. I made 2 passes on each of these seats and the water was coming up nice and clean, so I'm really happy with how that came out. Please do bear in mind that when you're doing these interior cleans, although you're only seeing a little snippet of what I'm actually doing, there is a lot more to it than just going over it once with a wet vac and the drill brush. Sometimes you need multiple passes to get some staining out. And as I move into the back carpet again, the back carpet did come up really nice with just a couple of passes. The back seats I was surprised about, because there is 2 kids seats that completely cover the 2 back seats, but I don't know how they managed it, but they managed to get yogurt and all sorts of stuff stained in on the seats underneath their car seats, which you can see me working at here with the drill brush. This took a good 3 or 4 passes to eventually get rid of it, and even at that I still didn't manage to get it out, so I'm going to need to get a steamer to deal with that. Previously in the video I mentioned about I'm going to try and do something about that piano black interior strips that's in this car, and what I'm going to try and do is just give them a polish up to try and bring some gloss and some depth back to them, because they are looking a bit flat, they are looking a bit faded, and they're certainly looking a bit scratched up. So I'm using the KDN Klein nano polisher here with the KDN pads, and I'm using the Zvizzer polishing compound, and you can see there's not a massive difference when I'm buffing off there, but there is a noticeable, it's a lot more noticeable to the eye than it is on camera. You can just see that slight line there where the left side is looking a little bit more deep and a little bit more glossy than the right side. And then now that I've done the whole thing, it's all looking nice and glossy. For all the tight compact areas around about the gear stick and all the buttons, all I'm doing is putting a little bit of compound onto my microfiber cloth and just giving it a rub in and just bringing that gloss back without going over all the buttons with my polisher. The same again goes for the door. Get it all masked up, give it a polish, masking tape off, a quick buff up with a cloth, and they're looking fantastic again. To finish everything off, I'm going to use some Garage Therapy Sigma. This is just the V1. I've not used the V2 yet. I'm looking forward to that in a later video. But just using the V1 to go over, massaging it over all of those piano black areas, letting it dry to a bit of a haze, and then buffing off. A great thing about doing this is that the Sigma has an absolutely phenomenal scent to it, in my opinion. So you're getting that nice scent throughout the car as you're doing this, so you're not indirectly using an air freshener. And then just as we come into some finishing shots of the interior here, you can see how well everything's came up. So at this point in the video, I'd just like to say a big thank you for watching. If you like the video, remember to hit that thumbs up button, and also consider subscribing to the channel if you like this kind of content. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.